Hi everyone, this is Grace over at FreightWaves, and I am excited to be at CartCon this week, of course. And I want to introduce you actually to the co-founder of the company, Remington. Could you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. First, Grace, thanks for having me and thanks for being here. We really appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
Remington Tonar, co-founder of Cart.com. Cart.com is a young 4-year-old unified commerce provider. And so we are helping brands and retailers, as well as other types of companies and organizations, both generate demand and sell products, but also fulfill orders. And so to that end, we operate over 10 million square feet of fulfillment center space nationwide across 18 facilities and are working with large brands, large retailers, B2B organizations as well, mostly mid-market to enterprise, and supporting large portions of their commerce value chains.
Yeah, what's interesting is doing research about the company and, of course, learning about all the attendees here today. You spoke on this perfectly. It's not just about, right, I think the technology that makes this ecosystem, but understanding that that ecosystem comes with a educational aspect too, right? It's not just about here's some tech, it'll solve all your problems. It's here's the technology that's going to make it easier, but we're going to make sure that your business continues to scale.
Well, and one of the things that we observed, and one of the reasons we started the company, is because there's a lot of technology out there now, there's a lot of solutions, and there's a lot of providers and vendors. But none of them talk to each other. There's still a high level of fragmentation, a lot of disintegration. And our thesis is that commerce works better, not only more efficiently, but actually you can drive more growth when you have pre-purchase, marketing services and marketing software, ad tech, et cetera, that are actually driving the growth and then feeding all of that data and all of the learnings from those activities back into the back end of the supply chain, right? The logistics and fulfillment portion of the supply chain. So you can do things like, the guys in our warehouse will know that, hey, we're running a big campaign in California for a brand. So we need to shift inventory out to the West Coast so we can hit the delivery promise, right? Or we have more inventory or are overstocked on something on the East Coast. So we need to clear that out. And so we need to push an ad campaign out there. And that dialogue between the front end and the back end of commerce, if you will, really allows us to do things that standalone 3PL could not, because they're also not driving the growth and the demand generation for those customers.
And they almost their business models don't push them to do that, right? It's like they want to make sure that whichever channel maybe you are reaching out to your customers to, that's fulfilled and delivered at their doorstep. But as you know, much more goes into acquiring that customer than just making sure it delivers on time.
And the customers don't see all of the functional divisions within a company, right? They don't care. They don't care that the CMO is running this part and Chief Logistics Officer is running this part. They view it as a seamless continuum of, I've identified a product, I've discovered a product, I've learned about that product, I'm buying the product, and I receive the product, I unbox the product, I enjoy the product, right? There's post-purchase engagement. That to them, to the consumer, to the shopper, is simply a continuum of activities. They don't understand that behind the scenes there might be 5 or 6 different departments or divisions that are running each of these segments of the sequence. And so part of what we're trying to do is provide the infrastructure, the unified commerce infrastructure, to connect all of those different segments so that brands and retailers can operate just as seamlessly as customers want to shop.
100%. Well, and it's incredible is because you have customers here who aren't huge companies, but that's their goal is to become bigger. And we talked about on a panel today Walmart and their AI investments. And what's really interesting about that is what you're talking about giving your customers is how they can compete with someone like Walmart.
It's equipping them, any brand, any retailer, with Amazon or Walmart-like capabilities. Walmart, Amazon, Home Depot, these are all companies that have their own technology stacks. They have their own capabilities that they own, they control, and are fully integrated, right? So of course they're going to be more scalable, more agile than a brand that's using 10 different providers for different things. And look, companies don't have to, and many don't, use us for everything, but we want to be the glue that brings all of it together, because it's only when you're connecting not only data but people within these companies that we think brands and retailers are able to deliver a differentiated experience to their customers.
Well, and I'll be honest, I think a major reason and reason I'm here today is what we witnessed in this room throughout today, right? Is all of your partners and customers talking together, learning from each other,
and also laughing together.
Yes, exactly.
As well.
That bonding aspect, it's the human behind the technology, right? Is partnerships isn't just about showing up when there's an issue, but being there all the time to support them. And this is year 2, correct, of doing this
CartCon,
event?
Yes,
What was that main goal? Was it to do just that, create that ecosystem?
Yeah, for us, we have a lot of different experts in our company across the commerce value chain. And that expertise is consumed by our clients, in many cases, piecemeal. And so we wanted to create a venue or a forum where we can bring all that expertise together in one room and have those conversations, two-way, multi-directional dialogue around the hot issues, but with marketers and supply chain people all in the same room.
Yeah. And I mean, even you touched on the marketing aspect, it did really kind of, I'm a logistics girl, I'm all about the delivery, but hearing the marketing aspect and hearing about the different campaigns that they run, just like you talked about, making sure that those different departments know what's happening, but also at the same time, like, you understand growing a business, like, I can't pull all of marketing into a meeting with all of my warehousing people and have it be efficient for either party, but to just have that, to use the AI or to use the technology to say, like, hey, this is what needs to be communicated for so everyone's job gets done is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the first step in doing that is, obviously you have to obtain the data. But then you have to be able to extract the right insights from that data and serve those up in a way that allows it to be easily digestible and consumable and actionable on the part of the brand managers or whoever the ultimate decision maker is. And I think that's the key. And doing that requires more, to your point, than just technology. Right? It requires an understanding of what is actually happening,
which is why we're here.
Parts of the value chain, right? So you can really say, oh no, like this piece of data is predictive. This one is not. Right? Totally. Because what we know about not just commerce and supply chain issues in general, but also what we know about our specific customer situations and their customer and how they buy and shop.
Definitely. And I, to talk on the education part, the part that you can't train exactly, right, an algorithm to know is what we're here today for, and listening to experts and talking about tariffs. So I think that these people can go home or back to their businesses and say, okay, how can I take what I just learned from the experts and apply it to this awesome technology in front of me, right?
Well, and some of these issues these are tough issues. I mean, tariffs represent, in some cases...
I led the tariff panel.
Right,
And it's tough.
It's tough. I mean, not only are the issues dense, but for some brands and retailers, they represent an existential threat. Especially for small brands and retailers that are heavily reliant on supply chains in certain countries or parts of the world. And the algorithms are not going to understand, they're not going to appreciate how serious these issues are for people and these companies. Whereas, another human being who is an expert in those areas can really empathize with what they're going through and provide recommendations that take into account the gravity of these events on that particular business.
Incredible. Well, how about this? I learned a lot today.
I'm glad.
What about you? I mean, and your team, right? You're here. You get to meet everyone in person. What have you learned today?
Well, look, I mean, these events for us are always a great way to get customer feedback and understand what our customers' burning pain points are today. What are they most concerned about right? And what do they think they're going to be most concerned about in the next 6 months, 1 year? We want to hear all that. So being able to collect that input from our customers, our community, allows us to make better decisions around where we're prioritizing for product development or bringing online new facilities or investing in innovation. And so these types of forums really allow us to listen to the market, right? Listen to our customers and understand what they want out of us, but also what they need out of us.
Yeah. So what did you hear? What do you think going back you're going to be focused on and driving with your team?
Yeah. Well, I think some of the obviously AI comes up a lot.
Totally.
And we're already working.
You should see my inbox.
Yeah. It's just like it's almost oversaturated now.
Yeah.
The space with conversations around AI, and we're working on a lot of different AI priorities, right? Mostly again around not only optimizing logistics, but then connecting, as we were talking about, the pre-purchase and the post-purchase data, and using AI to develop insights and predictability and forecasts from that data. And so we're already making investments there, but one of the things that I hear here, we saw it with some of the polls. So I thought it was really neat how we did the live polling.
Yes.
Because that allowed us to see, not just like facts about what our customers need, but sentiment.
Yeah.
How do they feel?
Yeah.
How do they feel? Right?
Yes.
Are they optimistic? Are they pessimistic? Are they cynical? Are they concerned over what timeline are concerned? Are they concerned about things like tariffs and kind of supply chain constraints? And then what are they doing about it, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to take all that information, go back and really contemplate how we can improve what we're offering them to align with that sentiment, those feelings that they have in this moment in time.
And for everyone too watching this, we will have some of that data in the article, so make sure you make your way to that as well. But I will say one thing I was happy to see because of all the tariff talks. One of the questions we asked was about how often you're reevaluating your supply chain.
Yeah.
And the number one answer was quarterly, which was the shortest period of time, right? And if anything, I think that speaks to the sentiment, right, that they're what you're helping them with, or your service is needed more than ever.
Well, and I would like to have those analyses be near real time.
Yeah.
I mean, right now they're very manual.
Totally.
It sits down and kind of goes through a strategic process of evaluating what that supply chain looks like, but with sufficient data and the right data.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We can actually do that constantly.
Yeah.
Right? Always be, gathering new intelligence on new developments, right? Like whatever the current tariff regime is, and then be able to say, here are the supply chain risks at any given moment in time, so that you can see those in real time and not just on a quarterly basis.
Yeah, and it's almost like bring it to full circle. What you kind of started talking about is having that all in one platform. You get it as someone who plays with data all the time. Having that all unsiloed in one place as much as possible, that is yours, and honestly cleaned up by those who know what they're doing is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the unsiloed part, that's the first step.
Yeah.
Right? We need to unsilo the data. We need to unify that data so that it can all be analyzed, right, and consumed by the AI, by the algorithms in one place.
Yeah.
And that can all get fed into the learning models. In these machine learning algorithms. And so, the more data we have, the better. Now, a lot of companies use primarily historicals to do forecasting, right? And Curtis talked about this a little bit.
Yes.
If you're using historicals, there's always going to be an inherent, kind of shortcoming in the historical data, which is, that's what you did in the last period.
Yes.
Right? Now, maybe you'll do that in the coming period, but what do you want to do in the coming period, and how do you bridge that gap, right?
Yeah.
And so, for us, the more real-time information on, how consumers are actually behaving right now, social media data, social media sentiment analysis about around products, product reviews, right? All of these things can be consumed by the algorithms now to be able to not only use historical data to do forecasting, but real-time data to do forecasting as well.
Even so important at a time period where people are literally trying to beat an August deadline, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I need to know right now, if anything, 10 minutes ago, if I need to get that ship sailing.
Exactly. Exactly. When do we need to order this by in order to be able to hit the target, hit the forecast, right? And all of that in the future, I believe, will be automated.
Totally.
It's just it'll be a loop, and the software will surface that information. There'll still be a human in the loop to approve, and then that order will kick right off, right? And we won't need the level of manual processes. What we'll need is, instead of having the experts in these companies manage the process, right? They'll simply provide oversight over the process and provide expertise over the process, right? rather than being the ones to actually, move the mouse, push the buttons, enter the quantities.
And just personally, I love hearing all this because all I hear is we're making the barriers of entry for entrepreneurs and those who want to enter the retail space and live their American dream. Like a number I've met here, right, who just love a product they made and want to share that. You're making that easier for them, and that's what this wonderful country is about, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and Amazon in some ways did this, but only for their own marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Where in a lot of ways that democratized the ability to build an online business.
Yeah.
But of course, you're captured on that specific marketplace, and we believe that Amazon, Walmart, Target, they all should be part of the equation, right? The world is omni-channel, and increasingly, geos are the new channels, right? The world, interestingly, ironically, tariffs could make the world more global as brands look to say, oh, like maybe we don't want to go into this country, but we want to, go from, China into Europe, or some other more friendly tariff regime. But all of that can be roughly automated so that entrepreneurs who want to build a business, an online brand, can do so without needing to either raise tons of money, or spend years mastering all of these different areas, right? All they need is the vision, they need the product idea, they need creativity, right? And that's what they want to be spending their time on.
The human element that we're not trying to automate at the end of the day. Well, I'd love to wrap this up with a look into the rest of the year going into 2026, right? We're about halfway through now, which is kind of crazy to even think about. Right? So what does the rest of the year look like for Cart.com and its customers as well?
Well, obviously we're carefully watching the tariff situation, and as we heard, there's definitely an uncertainty tax. There's a lot of uncertainty that comes with hard costs and opportunity costs. And so we're going to continue to try to minimize the impact of tariffs for our customers as much as we can. So we're going to keep a close eye on how that evolves on a country-by-country, client-by-client basis. We're going to continue to make some of these investments we've been talking about in AI and in advanced analytics using real-time data from across the commerce value chain. We're going to be extending in the near future, may not be this year, but in the near future, we are looking to extend our footprint into Europe as well. So we have a tremendous amount of coverage here in the U.S., increasing demand for overseas, and so we're going to be looking to enter new markets. And then, our business is quite diverse. There's a lot of brands and retailers here today, but we're also in the life sciences sector, electronics, components, and so we're going to continue to build our capabilities to service other verticals beyond the traditional retail verticals.
We get a little bit more into the cold chain side of things.
We were in cold chain today. We have cold chain capabilities that are quite sophisticated, and there's a large and growing market for that.
Huge.
It's very difficult to do and do well in a compliant fashion, but we've made some investments there and are continuing to expand that part of the business. What's really interesting is those same capabilities will allow us to do more for our food and beverage clients as well. So.
Exactly. I love this. Well, it was really great meeting you. Thank you so much for inviting me. And hopefully I'll see everyone at CartCom maybe 2026.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.